That's right, it's Thin Lizzy time. Okay, so let's put on this epic rating on the 12 albums that is the discography of Thin Lizzy. I don't have the first four albums, but that's okay. I'm a metalhead, so I don't really care for that folky stuff too much. First album called simply Thin Lizzy was released in 1971, and it's very folky stuff. I I think I've listened through it once or twice, and I don't really care for that kind of stuff. Is it shit? Well, that would be kind of a cruel thing to say. I really think that Thin Lizzy believed in what they were doing. Um, but the first two albums, Thin Lizzy and then in 1972, Shades of Blue Orphanage, they don't really do much for me. So I guess on the Thin Lizzy scale, I would say those are the worst albums for me to listen to. Probably, to be fair, they should be in C tier. Let's call it mediocre. But if we have to choose the worst album of Thin Lizzy, yeah, I'm gonna put the first one there in shit tier, in tier D. Then by the third album, Vagabonds of the Western World, I think there's some things already happening there, like the rocker and something kind of interesting like that. So yeah, let's put the first two albums in shit tier, with the first being the worst, and then Shades of Blue Orphanage being there in D tier as well, and then Vagabonds of the Western World I'm gonna put in C tier with mediocre, forgettable, still a bit too soft for my taste. Then on Nightlife in 1974, I think there's already something happening. Gary Moore is, I believe he's visiting the band for the first time as a guitar player on some of the tracks at least. There's some pretty cool stuff there, like Shalalalalalalalalalalala and Still in Love with You, which became the iconic ballad that they would play live on many of their tours. Uh, I would still place it in C tier, but I would say this is the upper end of it. So things are getting better all the time. And now that we're through with the first four albums, here's the fifth one, Fighting. And this is a big step up as well, as you can see from these kind of silly looking tough guy poses. This is a good place for a kind of a hard rocker or metal fan to begin the journey to Thin Lizzy. What are the best tracks here? My absolute favorite would be Spirit Slips Away. It's kind of like a ballad or a kind of like a softer song, but the atmosphere there is very gloomy and heavy and dark, and I really like that one. To be honest, the start to this album isn't for me quite the best. Starting with a cover track, Rosalie, even though it's not a bad song, it's kind of on the light side of things. And For Those Who Love to Live has this great guitar harmony thing going, but it's still, I don't know. It kind of clicks better with track 4 or 5, and starting from there onwards, even really to the end of the album, it feels like Thin Lizzy has clicked for the first time and is in the right place. I would still place this in B tier and say it's a good album, but it's not a great Thin Lizzy album, because I know they can do even better than that. And here is one of those things, 1976 and Jailbreak. Oh man, this hits hard. This is the first time that Thin Lizzy sounds from start to finish like Thin Lizzy to my ears. It's got The Boys Are Back in Town, which everyone has heard. It's got Jailbreak. It's got Cowboy Song. But I think my favorites would be the album Closer Nurse. So there's Warriors and Emerald, and those are magical songs. And this is a really cool album. Is it in my top 3 though? It's really good. I think I have to put it in as my number 3. Yeah. There are 2 albums that I consider even better than that, but it's a really cool one. And here's Johnny the Fox, and it's a very nice album as well. That same year, 1976, so they were on a roll. I think it's kind of as good as Jailbreak. It doesn't have all those really, really big hits, but other than that, you can listen to it from start to end. It has a really good flow on it. It's got tracks like Johnny and Rocky, Don't Believe a Word, Massacre. You know, very cool album and kind of underrated because it seems like the big hit songs are on the previous one on Jailbreak. It's really good and it's almost even with Jailbreak, so it kind of is stupid to place it in A tier and say it's a great album, but that's what I'm gonna do because there can only be 3 legendary albums from any given band. That's the rule. So this is definitely number 4. It's on the upper end of the A tier scale, but it's slightly, I don't know. It's a really good album though. So it's really tough saying which one is better, Jailbreak or Johnny the Fox. Here's Bad Reputation from I think 77. And they had some band problems here, I think, with their guitar player. I can't remember his name now. Is it Brian Robertson? I think is the guy. Yeah, he had some difficulties with certain things. You know, I guess outside the band as well. Maybe it had to do with the fighting and bar fights and alcohol or whatever. But they decided to go with just the 3 guys in the cover picture. This is moodier and it's a dark album, but at the same time it doesn't rock as much as the previous 2. It has some really amazing songs like Opium Trail. Also, the title track Bad Reputation is a cool, fast rock song. Soldier of Fortune is a cool epic to start the album. And I kind of like some of the softer songs like Southbound and Dancing in the Moonlight. But other than that, the B-side is kind of weak for me. It doesn't kind of work. It still has the classic Thin Lizzy sound, but I feel it's a lot inferior to Johnny the Fox. I guess I would say it's a good album though, so it's in B tier. I think it's probably all in all the high points are better than on Fighting. So yeah, I'm gonna say it's better than Fighting, but it's kind of like not as good as the previous 2. Here's a live album from that tour. This I guess is an unofficial one. It's from Philadelphia, 1977. It's got some cool tracks on it, like Opium Trail, for instance, Soldier of Fortune. Some bonus tracks at the end. So this tour is nicely documented as a live thing. And they also officially released a live album called Live and Dangerous. And it's a pretty cool one. It's a bit on the soft side. I would prefer it to be a bit more rocking. There's kind of lots of that moody stuff here, Dancing in the Moonlight, Southbound, which are, cool songs, but they're not quite as heavy as I would like them. So maybe this isn't the perfect tour to record that stuff, but anyway, here we go, and it's a classic live album, and if you like the melodic side of Thin Lizzy, yeah, this is definitely a cool album to check out. I've got the remastered deluxe edition, so there are a couple of extra tracks like Opium Trail Live, which is definitely a great thing to add here, and Bad Reputation, which is also a very cool addition. And there's also a DVD from the live show, at it. I have it in a separate uh, jewel case, but it came with this one originally, so that's where it originated. And here's a separate DVD version. Why do I have this? Well, there's lots of extra stuff here. So while that official Live and Dangerous part is the same, there's some extra things here like Sight and Sound concert, Sight and Sound in concert in 1983, which is a really cool one from their final tour. Uh, I kind of like that one a bit better. It's a bit heavier. They were kind of trying out to be a heavy band at that time. There's some Top of the Pops appearances, and there's even a live CD from 1975, which is kind of interesting. So there's lots of cool bonus material here on both of these. Then here's absolutely my favorite album. Gary Moore joined Thin Lizzy. Here's Black Rose from 1978, I think. Or is it actually 1979? I think this is 1979 actually. And definitely album of that year. There weren't really that many great albums released anyway, and this is by far the best Thin Lizzy album. It has all the ridiculous melodies in songs like Waiting for an Alibi and Got to Give It Up, but it's also got the heaviness and the rough side of the things. I love every single song on this one. I think it's the perfect Thin Lizzy album. The opener, Do Anything You Want To, is a heavy one. Then there's Toughest Street in Town. S&M is kind of a dumb song, but it's funny. I think it's a fun song. I don't take it too seriously. Waiting for an Alibi has ridiculous guitar harmonies. It gets so ridiculous near the end that I believe Scott Gorham said that I can't even play that stuff. So Gary Moore had to double his own guitar track. Basically, it gets so ridiculous, and it just hits the spot. That closing harmony near the end, it's just over the top, and I love it. Sarah, well, that's a soft song. I guess I could do without Sarah, to be honest, but it's fine, bringing some lighter material here. Got to Give It Up. Then there's the amazing Black Rose near the end, and a couple of really cool other tracks there. Just the two of us, single B side, I think. Night in the Life of a Blues Singer, and all this extra stuff with this deluxe edition. It's an amazing album. Definitely, if you only check out one album from Thin Lizzy, check out Black Rose. It's amazing. Gary Moore is the perfect fit with the band. Then here's an album that I didn't expect much from, called Chinatown. But actually what happened was that I really started liking this one a lot. So the title track Chinatown has this really driving riff that goes on and on. And then there's Sugar Blues, which is really fast and furious, one of their fastest songs, with these ridiculous guitar solo spots and great stuff like that. And actually, I don't think there's a bad track here. I like pretty much all of them. We Will Be Strong is a cool opener. It kind of feels like Do Anything You Want To Part 2, but I don't mind. It's still a cool song. Don't Play Around is a kind of a cool single B-side from this time. Then there's some reggae thrown in. Is it Hey You or Didn't I think it's kind of like a soft song. Sweetheart sounds like it would be really sappy, but it's actually a pretty cool rocking track. Killer on the Loose is a fine song. Having a Good Time is great. It really sounds like the band is enjoying themselves with that one. Hey You has that reggae thing, but then there's this midsection that gets really fast and kind of heavy too. It's another pretty much perfect one. So I'm gonna surprise and make lots of people angry and say this is my second favorite Thin Lizzy album of all time. I think it's better than Jailbreak and Johnny the Fox even. Yeah, it's great. They released live DVD from this tour. Unfortunately, there's not the original drummer, Mr. Downey, here because this show is amazing. It's absolutely my favorite. So it's the Sydney show with Gary Moore, and they have the glitter jackets there, which is kind of ridiculous. But it's here and it's remastered with this document, which is fine. The document itself is okay, but this live stuff here is really amazing. It's my favorite Thin Lizzy show. The energy and the presence of Gary Moore and all. It's just perfect. It's great. It's absolutely great. Then I think there are two left. We start the we continue the 1980s. I think I already mentioned Chinatown from 1980. Here's Renegade from 1981. It's not quite a strong album in my opinion. The some of the passion and excitement seems to be gone. There's still lots of heavy stuff here though. Angel of Death, Renegade is it floats a bit more. It's kind of floaty, but it's still heavy enough. Pressure Will Blow, I think, is my favorite track, and it's absolutely the classic kind of Thin Lizzy track with all the great melodies. But then there's some almost throwaway tracks near the end. They kind of try to keep it versatile. There's some like Mexican mood brought in with the track Mexican Blood, and then there's some jazz music brought in with Fats. It's not actually a bad album, but it's not as immediate as some of their best work. So I think I'm gonna place this in probably near the top end of B tier. Is it better than Bad Reputation though? It is a bit heavier, but I think the songwriting isn't quite as interesting. I'm gonna say I'm placing it as a good album between Fighting and Bad Reputation. It just doesn't quite do it for me. There's still some really nice tracks to listen to, like Hollywood, Down on Your Luck. The first two opening tracks are cool. Pressure Will Blow is great. So about half of the album is really enjoyable, but the other half is kind of, I don't know, not quite as interesting. And here's the final one, Thunder and Lightning. And this is the one where they decided, let's make one more album and let's make it really heavy this time. You can see all the cliches from the early 80s. You can see the lightning and the guitar and all that. And actually, I really like this album. It's kind of a straightforward heavy metal album, but it works. And there are some really interesting singing patterns on This Is the One and The Holy War. Thunder and Lightning is kind of a long song and it has lots of energy. Then there's the Heartbreaking The Sun Goes Down, where you can kind of sense that this band is getting close to the end. And even on the B side, there's some really cool tracks. Cold Sweat is this quick, fast, heavy metal riffing song. Someday She's Gonna Hit Back is another really cool track. Heart Attack is a fine ending to the album. Bad Habits has this old school kind of, I don't know, could you call it almost like bluesy sounding street attitude that they had, I guess, starting with Fighting onwards. It's a really cool album. I would say it's definitely A tier. I think nothing can divide Johnny the Fox from Jailbreak, so maybe I'm gonna place it just slightly under those, but it's a really cool album and definitely worth checking out. So, once more, okay, let's check this one as well. So this is a DVD. It has lots of the videos that Thin Lizzy made. I think there are some live ones as well, but they haven't mentioned all of them. They have listed some as live, but there are some others that probably aren't mentioned here, and they haven't mentioned which year. Except Whiskey in the Jar is from 1973. But yeah, it's a pretty cool one. I wouldn't say it's essential, but it's always fun to see Thin Lizzy playing live, even when they're kind of like miming to a studio tape, with those glittery jackets at the end of the 70s. I think they look cool, and it's a great band to see. So let's check it out. My all-time favorite Thin Lizzy album is Black Rose. Definitely, if you only have one album, get this. It's perfect. My second favorite, Chinatown. Very cool album. And kind of underrated. Somewhat underrated. And then Jailbreak. It's a classic. Everyone says it's pretty much their best, or at least their second best album. And yeah, I kind of have to agree. It's a really really cool album. Check it out, definitely. It's a really amazing album. Number 4, Johnny the Fox. If you like Jailbreak, there's absolutely no reason why you don't enjoy Johnny the Fox. It's just as rocking and energetic and cool. And my fifth one, Thunder and Lightning, probably the heaviest album and a really cool album. But it is a band that is about to finish in 1983, so keep that in mind. It's kind of, listening to Heart Attack is kind of heartbreaking. With Thin Lizzy, there's always so much emotion in the way Phil Lynott sings, so it's kind of devastating in that way. And then still really cool albums, but not essential. Bad Reputation, it's fine. Nothing wrong with it. A bit mellow. Renegade has its moments, but there's some stuff that isn't quite as great. And then my number 8 favorite studio album from Thin Lizzy, I guess, has to be Fighting. This is the one where things really click, actually, in the mid album. I guess on track 4 or 5 or somewhere there, and it starts sounding suddenly like Thin Lizzy. If you really like the other 7, check this one out as well. So there you have the epic Thin Lizzy review, and yeah, hope you enjoy.